Hey everyone, and welcome to Know Your Gear QA Podcast 231. I hope everyone had a fantastic week. Today we're going to probably be talking about some guitars. It's a good chance. If you're, I think online betting is legal now. So if you're a betting person, I would bet towards that. So there you go. But who knows? It might, I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about shoes and the weather. We'll see. I already see a bunch of you on. As always, I want to thank everyone who jumps on early and, of course, who does super chats and who asks questions early. If you're new to the show live and it's your first time, just make sure you put a question mark first so I know you're talking to me. Otherwise, you can also do super chats. I try to find interesting topics. And if you're watching the rebroadcast, I'll timestamp the subjects for you so you can go right to the interesting things. At least I hope so. A lot of stuff to talk about this week. I believe it or not, it was a crazy week in the gear world, whether you guys realized it or not. And so we have that to talk about. And you never know. I'm also waiting for a new delivery. So I'm watching my phone to see if something comes in while we're on the show. Okay. So, what else? What do we want to do? Do I want to hit the first questions first? Yeah, let's do that. The first question I saw today was from Randall, who said, Phil, I got to me, it's new to him. So in other words, he's saying it's used. Another way of saying used is new to you. New to you, guitar D-Armond by Guild and a Line 6 X3 pod. Have you ever played or owned the Line 6 X3 pod? And what do you think of it? I like the pods. Look, those were the Axe FX before Axe FX. You know, I think everybody anyone old enough to remember the pods when they came out, the Line 6 technology, that stuff was like, all of a sudden it was just in every studio ever, and it was amazing. And I actually think they still hold up. If you ever get a chance to pick one up, you can buy them for $100 now, $100-ish. And you pick one up and you plug it in. I did it as a, I don't want to say a lark, but about 2 years ago, I bought one. I came across one really cheap. Maybe I paid $70 for it, something like that. Bought it, plugged it in, checked it out, and then compared it to my more modern stuff. And to be honest, I couldn't really tell you it was a huge difference in sound. So yeah, great stuff. Pick them up for short money, and they sound pretty good. And so yeah, think about this. They're on actual albums. It's one of those things, it's a piece of gear where it's actually was a piece of professional used gear on albums that we like. And in fact, you can't even watch music being made. I don't even mean like 80s metal, none of that stuff. I'm just talking about all kinds of music. You can't even watch documentaries now where they're making music anywhere in the 90s, especially that transitional time that, you know, where it goes from ADAT tapes, you know what I mean, and the reel-to-reel recorders to the full digital moment. If you look at that whole time span over that period, decade, you literally in the racks of every studio, everything's Line 6 pod stuff. So very, very cool stuff. Good score, good piece of product, for sure. And like I said, you can pick them up super cheap still. Todd0864 says, I still use my Line 6 HD 500. Another great piece of technology. The problem is, the only difference between that stuff and the modern stuff to my ears is the new IRs. That's really what, that's the big change. In fact, sadly enough, you'll never see the interview because it got destroyed. What happened was I interviewed Guillaume, the owner of Two Notes, and it was an amazing interview. And I asked him about the fact that he invented Two Notes because he liked his pod, but he didn't love the way it sounded. He thought it could be better. So he started creating Two Notes IRs for his pod. And we filmed this amazing video, and it was in Germany. And the audio was it the audio that's jacked up and the video is jacked up? It got jacked up because the system we used, it was dropping frames and dropping resolution, and it was just unbearable to watch. So I couldn't put the video out. I even tried to do screenshots. I did all this stuff. I spent hours trying to edit it into something, but it was just a very subpar thing. And I thought, well, I'll just do it again when we meet up again. And then, then COVID happened. So that was the last time. So maybe I'll get Guillaume and get him to tell the story. Cool guy, cool gear. I'm a big Two Notes fan since I got my cab in, and I love it. What else? I like how I just say, what else? What else you guys got? Let's just next, I think. All right. Eddie said, hey, Phil, basically, I want to let you know what Eddie said. Eddie basically wanted everybody to know that we missed last week's show, but he's here this week because he got married. Those are one of, I think, the 3 acceptable excuses to miss a show. Getting married's one. I don't know what the other 2 are. We'll have to think of them. You guys can put in the comments the excuses for missing a show. Going to a show, maybe if you go to a real concert, that's a good excuse. And, stuff like that. What else? I'm going to stop saying what else. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so this one comes from The Panda. He says, hey, Phil, what do you think about Guitar Center confidentially filing for an IPO? Roundos. He said 2, but I'll say dose. Maybe we will get a guitar meme stock. So if you guys don't know, that was kind of put out this week. I saw an article about it as well. I think a lot of us did, where Guitar Center confidentially is, kind of under the secret. No, just they're trying to file for an IPO to go public again. That was part of the original Bain Capital plan. If you guys don't know, when Bain purchased Guitar Center, I think that was in 2004. Forgive me if I'm off by a year or so. And when they bought them, the first thing they did was they bought up all the stock. I remember because the stock shot up to about like $45 a share, something like that. And they bought back all the stock and made Guitar Center private. And the idea was to grow Guitar Center into this amazing chain of awesomeness. And then literally, of course, do the typical shroud them full of tons of debt, like $400 million of debt, shove that in them. And then put it back out, put an IPO out and go public. And of course, cash in the rewards of kind of owning that market. And then, of course, we know what happened. If 2004, after that, you had the recession, and then you have what is now referred to as the retail apocalypse, where the brick and mortars started really feeling the burn from the online companies. So, look, it's no secret what I think of Guitar Center. Guitar Center is a dinosaur in the industry. They are very unaware of the market. I've made fun of them in every way, and I feel guilty because that's just my personality. I feel guilty, but I still stand by what I say. When you walk in a Guitar Center, and again, I'm talking about the company, not the employees, the company. When I walk in a Guitar Center, I've said this before, it's horrible on so many levels. First of all, when you walk in, the way it looks is dated. It's made to look like a 1980s rock concert in their stores with rows of Marshall stacks that they don't even carry anymore, giant bass amplifiers that they don't even carry anymore. Lighting rigs and everything. Everything look like a rock concert that really kids today don't even give 2 craps about for that. That's not what appeals to them. The store feels, like I said, dated when you walk in. They're definitely trying to appeal to, I don't know who they're trying to appeal to. Beginners, right? Their marketing is all over the place, and their online presence is very weak as a whole. And the best thing about them, think about this, Guitar Center, from what I can see, they only have 2 things going for them. They filed bankruptcy and were able to shed off some debt, although they did pay the vendors. I can tell you personally, so we don't have to guess or do rumors or hearsay, everyone that I'm friends with that owns a musical instrument company that was owed money to Guitar Center told me they got paid. That's at least 7 or 8 companies. Significant payouts too, by the way. You know what I mean? I mean, not just, 10 grand, sometimes 100 grand or 400 grand. So everybody I know got paid by Guitar Center when the bankruptcy happened. So they did pay their vendors, at least the ones I know. And then, so they filed bankruptcy. So now, of course, they've relieved debt. Great. Okay. So they don't have a lot of debt now. That's a attribute, I guess. And the second attribute is COVID happened and there was a huge guitar boom. If you think about that, that's our business model right now. We're doing great because everyone's doing great and we don't have any debt because we wrote it off. I don't know. You know what I mean? I've said this very clear. Your two problems I have. One, guitar industry, we could talk about. Stock market is just not my thing. I'm not versed in it. I know what the average person who reads stuff knows, so I don't know anything about that. To me, it could be, I could be totally wrong. Them filing IPO, people buy up the stock and think it's the greatest thing ever. And it's not even Guitar Center. There's a list of retail stores right now that I like. JCPenney's. I wouldn't invest in JCPenney's, and I sure as hell wouldn't invest in a Guitar Center, me personally. So, so yeah, when I saw it, I was like, of course, it makes sense. You know what I mean? Here's what I'm saying too. I also want to be very clear because I've said so many things over the years. Again, sometimes I think it's nice to kind of reaffirm and kind of focus the thoughts of what I've said. When I think Guitar Center's dying, but when I say they're dying, I think this carcass could move on for another 30 years. I mean, seriously, no joke. The reason is because they are, like I said, outdated, antiquated, no good ideas, no good. I mean, they got to do stuff to change soon because, like I said, it's not even their employees. That's why I say, have you noticed I say the company and not the employees? When I talk to the employees, even the employees say, I wish we had, you know, a Strandberg guitar in here, and I wish we had a Kemper. I wish we had more modern things that the actual new guitar market seems to be more interested in, instead of just, you know, loads of inexpensive product and then loads of, you know, the older stuff. But what's more important about them and this whole thing is, trying to put my words perfectly so it comes across correctly. Like I said, they're outdated. I don't think they have any new fresh ideas. I don't think they have any fresh new market, but they did spend the last 3 decades killing the mom and pop sector hard enough to where they own so much of the brick and mortar market. I think they will stick around for a while, especially now that they got their bankruptcy, which is, by the way, my prediction when they were getting their bankruptcy was that they would do the bankruptcy, reorganize, and be stronger than ever. And that's probably why they want to file for an IPO, because they're probably looking at their spreadsheets and going, hey man, we got a lot of cash here because we had a sales boom significantly. I'll never forget, I'm just sorry, I can't ever do it. Was it November of 2020 when they filed bankruptcy? So not quite a year ago, when Guitar World, of all freaking things, they all had the balls to put out an article. It's like, Guitar Center record sales year. And then they had the president of Guitar Center, somebody's like, we sold 500 times more than we've ever sold before. And then in the same week, we filed bankruptcy. Bunch of assholes. Anyways, that's my thought on their IPO. I would rather buy stock in that Gibson guitar from a couple weeks ago. All right, that's my thought on that. So let's go to another subject. Because again, like I said, Guitar Center seems to always, you'd think they do better than they do, considering how much they can get on subjects on these channels. The only thing is, no one's ever talking about them in a positive way. Okay. Hold on. I'm sorry, I'm just reading questions, reading stuff. You know what else? Here's something. I don't know if I want to go. I have a subject I want to talk about this week. Well, let's see. Do I want to hit that or let me hit a question and I'll hit a subject I like, that I want to talk about. Let me grab this. I'm going to do this out of order just because it grabbed my attention right now. And it was a Matt Wells. Matt Wells said, hey, Phil, my American Pro Strat can use neck and middle either in position 4 or in the middle position with neck pickup turned on with push pot, but they don't sound the same. Any idea why that should be? Okay, so let me break that down. What he's basically saying is, you guys all familiar with the Strats, of course. So in position 4, he's getting the neck and middle position. And then he's also, he can push his push pot. There's a little button in the middle of one of his pots. And it gets the same 2 pickups, but they don't sound the same. I would check the manual because I'd have to look at it myself. But if I was guessing, one of those is in phase and one of those is out of phase. That's what I would imagine. One position is probably an out of phase sound. So to me, what would solve that for you right now is I always use this term to say that if one of the positions, especially the button in, if it kind of sounds like this, like I said, it's got a little weird nasal tone to it, that could be an out of phase tone, and that's supposed to be what it's doing. so that's what I do. But I checked the manual. The good news is, doesn't sound like you got a defective guitar. It sounds like it's doing what it's supposed to do. Just their manuals have always been pretty crappy, but they haven't, that stuff that they put in those guitars now, they've been putting that stuff since the 90s. So Fender hasn't really put a whole lot of new wiring stuff in a lot of the guitars. They kind of came up with it all in the 90s, and then it just pushed it to the 2000s, 2010s and stuff. So it's all pretty straightforward stuff. They come up with new ways to market it, new ways to kind of make the buttons look and move stuff around, but it's still the same way. It's good stuff. So there's no reason to change it. Okay. All right. So here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about something. Something really cool. I saw it. I wasn't sure what the hell I was looking at. I tried it. And I don't know, maybe if this becomes the title of this live show, maybe I'll clickbait it and call it like, why I think Reverb wants to put you all in collections. So let me share this with you. I'm going to share this with you. And here we go. So if you guys haven't noticed this, I thought this was really cool. And there's a couple things to discuss on this, but I want to share it with you. This is not sponsored, none of that stuff. Like I said, this show is all sponsored by you guys. I was noticing when I was on my Reverb that there's this button called My Collection. It says New. And there's a little video you can watch. It's short and sweet. Right here, but you don't need to watch a video. What it does is it lets you take items you've purchased on Reverb or items that you didn't purchase on Reverb. So I'm going to show you what this is. So let's say I want to do this. You click the button. I go ahead and add. Let me type in like a Friedman small box 50. And what it's going to do is it's going to find one for me. Here's what I have. So I own this amp. And here's what it does. It populates it for me, lets me put what I paid for it. Okay, so I'm going to put, because I bought it directly from Friedman. And then I could type so I can put, this is where I would put, I bought it from Friedman right there. What's unique about it. And then I can take an actual picture of mine and put it here. Okay, add tags if I want. And then this stuff, you don't fill this stuff in. Okay, year 2000s, but 2010. I can change that. I can put that because I bought it in 2020. No, I didn't. It was this year, 2021. Condition, I'm going to say it's in mint condition because, and this is, you can add the serial number and then any notes, and then you hit save item. And when you do this, this is what it says. See right here, it says, this is what they think they're going for right now, and this is what they think mine's worth. So I made $297 in theory. And then, of course, you want to sell yours, you can, but that's not what they're really up to. And then, of course, you can edit the details. Let me go back into this list. Sorry, guys, I'm looking at two screens and showing you one. Okay, hit My Collection again. Adds it to this grand total of what my estimated collection's worth based on the stuff I got in there, which is a lot, $4,000 to $5,000. And, of course, as the prices on these items changes, like my Sinister Gates guitar, it says it's worth about $724 to $961, right? And the idea is, I actually did this last night. I tested it for way too long. And what it does is it allows you to put in your entire collection into this. And so here would be the advantages of that. One, you would have essentially your collection of gear in a cloud because it would be held into the Reverb. It's in your personal Reverb account. It's not disclosed to anyone. I went through a lot of their stuff. I read the stuff, their disclosure stuff. They're not, obviously this is just for you. However, you can push a button and put any of it for sale if you want. But here would be the advantages. One, you could do what I did last night, which is be horrified by how much money you've spent on all this stuff. Two, if anything ever gets stolen or if you have any kind of damage, you now have not only serial numbers and actual pictures and all that stuff archived, but it's also archived, like I said, in a cloud format. So it's obviously wouldn't be stolen with the gear. You would have it and you can do it. You cannot access this from your phone is what I figured out. I couldn't do it from my phone, only from a computer. The other thing that happens is if you were to pass away, that, so, I don't want to be dark about this, but I have a few friends that we have deals, and that's what it is. If one of us passes away, they will help our spouses sell off all our stuff. You know what I mean? So, that's our kind of our thing, because you don't want, your spouse to, well, one, you don't want anybody grieving when they're making decisions selling off your stuff, because they'll make irrational decisions, because they won't be thinking that way. They're not thinking about their future. They're thinking about how sad they are at that time. So, although that's dark, that's a reason why you'd want to do that too. And like I said, then of course you can also keep track of your stuff. I found it was just interesting to look up my stuff and see what they said. Like, it was funny. I was typing in stuff and it said, your stuff's worth $30 less than you paid for it. I'm like, oh, and then something was like, it's worth like $1,500. I had one thing that said it was worth like $2,600 more than I paid for it. I was like, what the hell did I type in? And I went back and looked. And so it's obviously it's Reverb offering this feature. I'm sure their advantage to them is that they think that if you list all your stuff on Reverb, it's already it's ingenious as a business perspective, right? You basically have all your entire collection already on this internal Reverb thing. So if you ever decide to sell it, you're going to, of course, just go, I might as well click it and update the photos or whatever and call it a day. So that's interesting. I think the only concern I could think of, I was trying to think of pros and cons of this. The only con I could come up with is, obviously somebody hacks your computer and gets into your Reverb account, and now they know your collection and what its appreciated value would be. This is also supposed to be, I don't want to say in real time, but it obviously seems to be collecting data at some degree where, for instance, like I said, if it says my guitar is worth, like that Friedman amp, I think it said, $200 more. It's worth $200 more than I paid for it. So essentially, if it goes up another $300-$400 in a couple months, it'll say it's worth $500 more. So it'll kind of change out stuff. So it's cool. Like I said, like everything on the channel, I tried it out pretty extensively for myself before I just started talking about it with you guys. I wanted to know what the downfalls are. Only one I can think of, although, like I said, a lot of you guys are in other careers and may know stuff that I don't know, so put that in the comments down below. But that's, like I said, the only thing is, and to be honest with you, I was like, I don't know. If you're, if you're worried about your computer being hacked, I guess I obviously we're all worried about that. But I think the worst thing wouldn't be, oh no, they got my credit card information and they know how much my Strat's worth. Who knows? Yeah, and then be clear. Pedal LY says, are these gear profiles public? No, this is just for you. No one sees this stuff. In fact, I couldn't even, like I said, I don't even think Reverb can see it. I'm sure maybe just like any company, if they go into an account, maybe they can pull this up and look at your stuff, maybe an employee can or something. And I'm speculating, by the way, but no, it's not public, and it's not a thing where if you hit the wrong button, it is public, and if you hit the wrong button, it's not public. You can't even publicize this list. Like I said, you'd have to, like you guys were looking at my physical account, so I was showing that to you. So no, it's just internal to you. And like I said, you can't even access it from your phone. I didn't check a tablet. I should have checked. I'm sorry. I apologize. I should have checked an Apple tablet or a tablet to see if it accesses it from there. I would assume it might, because it's more of a... I would assume if you're on the website, you can see it, and if you're on the app, you can't. That's probably why the phone doesn't see it. But very cool for us. I will tell you this, I was shocked. I put in stuff because you know why? After I put in like my guitars and my amps, then I started putting in pedals, and then I started putting like guitar stands and other silly things, that I've microphones. Oh, just the microphones, actually. Oh my God, it hurts now just thinking about that. So, because you start thinking about this stuff. So, I thought it, I just thought it was funny because, again, it's just something to note. It was interesting, like I said, that they are letting you do this. It's pretty cool. I think there's other companies. I think Music Nomad has a thing where you can put in this stuff and put your serial numbers and all that stuff in case your stuff gets stolen. But this makes sense. And then, and by the way, I don't know, I didn't show you because I already had done it, but everything you had bought on Reverb, you can just auto-populate into your collection. So you can do that too. So it seemed like a good way to track that stuff and do that stuff. Like I said, guys, I just wanted you to have the information. I stumbled across it. thought it was weird because, you know, when you see a thing because it's collection, I think the way I read it was, let me see if I can do it. It says my collection, right? I don't know why, but let me go back to it. I don't know why, but when I went, drop down menu, when I saw my collection, because it was in a purchase. It does it in your purchases. When you're doing a purchase, it'll say put in your collection. And then I was like, oh, okay, put in my collection. And I was like, what the hell is this? So there you go. So anyone interested in that, now you know Reverb will let you track your collections. So my knees hurt says, I never sell stuff ever. Well, then there you go. Put it in the collection. You won't have to update anything. It'll be a one-time time. Just input the data. Very cool. So, let's see. Chris Sean says, I don't trust Reverb at all. All right, fair enough. Like I said, my only downfall I could think of was, yeah, again, you're trusting the data. But this isn't like, I don't know. Like I said, I thought about it because trust me, I was thinking about this, putting the stuff in here going, okay, what's the downsides? And all I thought about was, like I said, it could get hacked. The site could get hacked, but, they have my bank account information, so I'm not gonna lie. I would rather obviously somebody know how many strats I own than my bank account information. So I think me personally, like I said, do whatever you guys have to make your own decisions. I just decided really at risk. I'm already at risk just being on Reverb, you know, like any website. So there you go. I just wanted to give you the information and talk about it. I thought it was fun. Let's see. Okay, hold on. I want to grab some questions. Yeah, Gil Lamb said, interesting yet scary to know the money spent on gear. Yeah, of course. Right? It's yeah. All right. Okay, let's go to another subject. And then, just because I saw the clarifying question. Stout Coffee says, does the collection keep tabs on purchases made outside of Reverb? Yes, as long as you can find it. So what happens and this will end on this note, because again, I did a lot of this. I input almost everything, my entire collection in it. What I can tell you was, if it can't find it in the system, like because you didn't purchase there and it can't find it in the system, it tells you to put in what you paid for it or the value you want to assess to it, and then it doesn't update from there, but it always will add your amount you plugged in. So like for instance, I'll give you a perfect example of one that was weird. I had a guitar. What guitar was it? I had a guitar that like it couldn't even find it on Reverb because and so it was like, oh, this guitar doesn't even exist. So it just let me put in the guitar, add my pictures, and then I just typed what I paid for it, and then it's going just to always calculate that into the total as what I paid for it as its value, and then you have control of that. You can either put what you paid for it or what you think it's worth if you sold it, kind of thing. So there you go. All right. More interesting stuff. I just thought it was cool. Different. And like I said, a really interesting idea. Because like I said, every time you did anything, it says, hey, and if you want to sell this, like I'd put something in, it's like, don't forget, you could sell this. It doesn't harass you, but it's got a little thing on the side. Okay. We have Litvey. Litvey says, recently you mentioned, okay, what did I mention? Oh, wait. I hopped one, but let me get to Litvey real quick. Litvey said, recently you mentioned Hot Rod Red last podcast. Okay. Oh, yeah, Hot Rod Red. Yeah, the color. The Miami and Tropical Blue and other cool Fender colors we should know about. Oh, Fender for cool colors. Oh, so he's talking about last week's podcast. We talked about Fender colors. Sure. I mean, there's tons of colors that a Fender have done. Obviously, I like those colors. I have the, was it Antique Olive? I'm looking at it right here. Antique Olive Green. That's a crazy cool color. What was the gray they did that was really cool that year? Fender does a lot of crazy colors. They name them always crazy stuff because if you guys know anything about colors, that's essentially how you protect a color for the most part. I'm going to make this very layman's, okay? It's really hard to copyright, trademark a color. So a lot of times companies add the name and the color. So for instance, like, you know, seafoam green is like mint green. So a company, so you understand, just, and the reason I'm saying it this way is because this is the way you have to look at it legally. I can make a guitar right now and paint it. I can go down to Sherwin-Williams, paint, get the color that looks exactly like surf green, shoot surf green on the guitar. Fender can't stop me from doing that. My guitar will look exactly like theirs. What I can't do is use the name surf green. They own that color name. They own that name. A lot of times, the reason I say it that way is a lot of time companies say they own a color, or people, musicians say, or customers say that, oh, it's a color owned by this company. The color is not so much owned as the name. And then, of course, the name associated to the color. So it's not only surf green, but it's surf green and the color mint. But it's the name is trademarked. So a lot of times Fender has like a lot of cool names for colors, like tropical blue. That's why PRS is like that too. Like, you know, they name a lot of crazy colors, but they name a lot of the colors after their employees. I've talked about this before. Mateo Blue is Mateo Arize. No, Mateo Verde. Sorry. I hope I'm doing this right. Matt Ariza. I'm sorry, Matt. Matt Ariza. So Matt Ariza is a painter at the company at PRS at PRS, and he has a color called Mateo Blue, named after him because he's Mateo Ariza. And then he's got another color that's green called Arize Verde, Verde being Spanish, the word for green, I believe. So those colors are named after him. There's a color called Angry Larry that PRS used to do, and it was named after one of their sales reps. His name's Larry, and when he got angry, I guess they said his face turned purple, so that's why it's purple. So if you ever see a purple PRS and it's called Angry Larry, they would trademark the name. What I don't know about PRS, and you'd have to ask somebody at PRS, I've never asked, is do they get any royalties for that or anything, or just get the coolness to know that the color's named after them. But essentially, so when we talk about colors, it's not just the colors, but it's also the name and structure of those colors as well. Otherwise, other Fender colors that I think was cool, I'm trying to think of cool Fender colors. Like they did graffiti yellow. You know, they're all just colors. Hey, how about copper? I'll tell you, Litve, I feel like I'll tell you guys. So a little segue into something going on right now. I mentioned at the end of last week's show about the KYG limited edition products that we will be releasing. Well, basically, we could say starting now. And what those are is I have been working with companies for the last year making limited edition KYG products, which are not to be confused with signature products, where signature products like I don't have a Phil McKnight signature guitar. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is something I think is cool, something that was made as a limited run that will be priced at the same price as the regular product that, because you're a viewer of this channel, you have access to get. So sometimes that stuff is just we put different color instrument. Sometimes it's just an amp with a new feature. Sometimes it's an actual logoed, KYG product. But either way, something exciting. And so, I mentioned a few weeks ago for the diehard fans that the Copper Strat, the Fender Copper Strat, was missing. I'm making a face. It's not here yet. It's not here. Yeah, it's because it's being. It's not being copied. It's not being cloned. What happens is I got a company that is obviously very excited to work with the channel, and they're replicating the features on that guitar. So we'll have a Copper Strat coming soon. It's not Fender, but it's something cool, and so thought I'd share that. But what I can share, because it's too soon to share that, I'll let you guys figure out what brand it's probably going to be. I can tell you that I released last week to the patrons this, which is the limited edition KYG. Can't see it. How do I? Zither stand. So this is if you guys know, I did a video where I bought two of these stands and tried to knock over my PRS, and that video did really well. And I became friends with Tony, the owner of Zither, right? Because obviously he was like, hey, we sold a crap ton of stands. And he's like, hey, from your video. And he sent me two stands as a gift after I did that video. And then I had my wife put decals on those stands. So I had decals. And then when I did the 10 products that I absolutely love still, I picked my Zither stand because that's what I use. Because as you know, I only use string swing, and this uses a string swing holder. And he said, hey, why don't we do that limited edition thing you were talking about? So here's what it is. It's a solid mahogany made in Texas stand. So the entire stand is made in Texas. And this is laser cut. This is not going to come across in this video. I apologize. But this is not a decal. This is deeply laser cut into the thing. In fact, it's not burned. If it looks like it's branded or burned, it's not. It's just laser cut in there. And this is a special logo. You can see there's no rock fist. He's just playing the guitar. Like I said, the detail doesn't come out very good. But we did a limited edition run of these stands. I let the patrons have them. And I want to thank the patrons because the patrons help us figure this out. So for instance, we thought, because again, we're not trying to make it to where, you know, it's exclusive to where people can't get it. We're trying to make it to anybody who wants it can get it. And then, you know, then we're done. So we can go on to the next thing. I thought the number was going to be 25 stands. Well, the patrons bought 23 of them. So I would be here going, hey, there's only 2 left. So we think the number's really probably closer to 50 or 100. So again, it's you know, we don't know. So what I will tell you is that I have a video dropping what will be the official release of this stand in about a week. So it should be October. And so if you're interested in buying one of these, there's a link down below that takes you to the website to buy one if you want one, and it's at the reduced rate. So before the official video drops. And then there you go. So if you're interested in having a stand with the Know Your Gear logo, great. I appreciate it. Like I said, I get a little piece. Zither sends them straight to you guys, and it's pretty straightforward. I want to thank all the patrons for jumping on board. You guys really seem to like them. Stout Coffee says, I love the wood and the figure to it. I really like it. Like I said, they're good people over there. They're, like I said, he has like, I think 6 employees. I hope I'm right. I think it's 6 employees, and they just work their butts off making these all day. As you guys know, you know, I try not to be that, you know, I only use, or this is because I want to be a channel where I can talk about as many products as possible. But so you know, I'm constantly telling companies no. When it comes to the wall hangers and the stands, I pretty much stick with just what I like, which is the string swing products and, of course, the zither stand. So that's what I like. And then Pedal says, I bet you can go 100 no problem. Again, you know, yeah, we don't, you know, who knows? You know what I mean? Who knows? But there you go. You can check them out if you want to hit the links, if you want to get earlier in line, I guess. I guess that's what it is right now, is it's just, you know, they're making them and they'll have them available to you. But again, I just want to keep talking about this because I'm going to obviously release everything to the patrons first, because they're helping me to kind of test market this stuff too. And then, like I said, we have pedals, we have guitars, we have amps, we have everything coming, every price point. Somebody should find something they might find cool. Again, and we're not trying to stick on the whole Know Your Gear theme too much. Like I said, a lot of these products don't even say Know Your Gear or my name anywhere on them. They're just something limited about them. So Magic Man says, how much are there? These are, if you buy them now, $149. Now, I know some of you guys saw them on the Reverb site. We had to take them off because we put them on there. I wasn't thinking anybody would notice them. They were $200 because that's what they normally sell this stand for. This stand normally sells for $200 if you get the Gibson or the Taylor logo. And so what happened was I asked Tony at Zither if we could do them for the same price. So the mahogany stand, so if you guys like the stand but don't like my logo, it's still $150. So you can buy this stand on his site right now for $150 if you want mahogany. If you want the oak, it's $100. So it's $50 less. But I bought the oak ones first because $100 seemed easier. But I'll tell you, after I saw the mahogany one, I don't know what it is. It's just a lot classier, but it is $50 more. It's a legit amount of money difference. But what I'm telling you is this stand is $150. So it's the same if you get the logo or not the logo. And then we talked about this internally. So say we, not you guys. If you were one of the ones and you're watching now that bought one on Reverb, when they ship, you guys don't know this, but when they ship, you'll get refunded $50 because we wanted to keep it at $150. I was a little nervous. We were a little nervous when we put them on Reverb because, like I said, Gibson and Taylor also sell this exact same stand with their logo from Zither, and they charge $200, and we didn't want to violate any kind of map policies with that. So there you go. All right. Okay, let's get to some questions. Enough of that stuff. Oh, Aaron Short Music says, I met the owner at NAMM, really nice guy. Yeah, me too. Super, super hardcore guy. Funny, great stories. And that guy is, he works. He's like the guy he's the guy, since Aaron knows him and he knows what I'm talking about. I'm kind of just talking for Aaron for a second. Aaron, he's the kind of guy when you hear he's doing great, you're like, you love hearing that, because this is a guy who's not afraid to tell you the bads and the goods of his story, of his life, of his business. And I love that. I love it when everybody's, instead of it's like the whole roses, and then I invented the stand and it was $1 million later. It's just like, I love it when somebody's like, this is what happened. It was bad. This is what happened was good. And this is how I'm coming out, and it's doing great. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Fast Teddy 333 says, how is it on carpeting? It's fine. It's on carpeting now. I have no issues. Look, I've had these stands now. So you'd have to look at that original video I did. I want to say it's 2 years old. These are the only stands I've used, at all. In fact, when I did that video, in the video, I showed you guys like a regular guitar stand stuff. I have no stands. I'm telling you guys, just honest to God, I only have these stands in my house. No other stands. There's one in my shop. There's one PRS stand, you know, that PRS stands that PRS sent me. They sent it to me to check out, and I gave them feedback, and I think it's a beautiful stand, but these are what I just trust these. I have not, my dogs have not knocked a guitar over, and I've done everything that you shouldn't do with these stupid stands in a guitar. So I really, really feel safe with them. As safe as I'm going to feel with the stand. So, all right. There, I'm done trying to sell you guys a stand. Let's get back to guitars. I jumped over this one, so I apologize. I jumped over this question. This is from Jim. Jim says, hey, Phil, he got the Magnatone panoramic stereo, has a 46 decibel hum when engaged, volume at 0, no other gear or RFI present. Is that normal or maybe a tube issue? Well, first, always when a tube amp, go off the fact that it's probably a tube issue. Bad tube is going to create all kinds of problems, from a high-pitched squeal to a humming sound. There's all kinds of things. Then once you know the tubes are right, then we can worry about all the other components that could possibly go wrong. And of course, you know, like I said, if you're playing in your house, you know, who knows if it's picking up your refrigerator or what other things to do. What I will tell you is that I did a video where you know, chopstick test. It's a very old test. You take a wood chopstick, or you could take a drumstick, anything that's like a drumstick for drumming, not like a chicken drumstick. Hit the tube with the chicken. If it sizzles, it's good. No. Anyways, you tap it lightly and listen for some kind of ring. And that sometimes will tell you if a tube's bad. Sometimes you can look at it visually, inspect the tube is an issue. But tubes are problematic for sure. But I would go off the tube issue for sure. I hope that gets you down the right path. But always assume the tubes are the problem with an amp. I find that 8 out of 10 times, and I really feel like it's probably closer to 9, but 8 out of 10 times it'll be the tubes. And when it's not, the other 2 times not tubes, then you have to taken somebody or call Magnatone and see if there's a tech on site that will walk you through the problem. Also, don't forget not only to unplug it and plug it in a different outlet, but on an outlet on a different. I don't know what you call them. I'm not an electrician. I don't know if they're called relays or circuits or whatever. But in your house, you know, you have different. You know, when you blow a fuse and you go outside and flip it, junctions? I guess at the junction box, whatever it is. What I've learned at the house to do is, if I have an issue coming through an amp, the first thing I'll do is I'll plug into an outlet that's attached to a different breaker, because the fact that anything on that one breaker could be coming through your amp is what I'm saying. So I get it on something else. Plug. So sometimes what I like, so you know, the little dumb trick for me, and again, far from electrician knows what the hell he's talking about. But for instance, if I'm plugged in an amp, especially at somebody's house, but like my house, and the amp's making a noise and I can tell it might be coming from the wall, the first thing I'll do is go into a bathroom and plug it into a bathroom, because usually the bathrooms are hooked up to a GFI, like the garage would be and stuff. And so that is all on one thing. So, and it's usually on a different thing than maybe, because sometimes you have to worry about people's refrigerators or other things they have plugged in. But the GFI would be usually isolated to the bathrooms. So that's a little trick I've learned. And I'm sure somebody out there is an actual real electrician. They might have a better suggestion, but that one's worked wonders for me. Alan Sam's Music, who's also a patron, thank you, Alan, says, no questions, just want to contribute. I appreciate that so much. Michael says, what do you think of the JTV variaxes? Thanks for your awesome content. Thank you for the compliment. Michael, I've played very many of the, I've played very many. I think I've played all the variaxes at some point. All of the ones that they've offered up. And although I can find where they're interesting and they do cool things, like I've seen like Rabir and Frog Leap Studios use them on stage. I've seen all kinds of professional musicians use them on stage. I have friends that are gigging artists around town, do like, wedding band stuff, and they use them. I've said this before. The problem for me is a lot of time when you're playing at home and you're your own audience too. So I think when I'm playing out, in that kind of idea, I think a product like that works wonders for the usage, because it's like, hey, it's your baritone guitar, it's your 12 string, it's your acoustic, it's your electric, it does everything. And the audience knows no better, right? They hear it and it sounds good and they go. But at home, it sounds synthetic to me. And so I'm also the audience at home. You know what I mean? I'm playing and it's why I've said this before. When it comes to, gigging out, I could take my HX Stomp anywhere, plug into it and play in front of people and feel like I'm fine. But at home, I find no joy in that for me personally. I need to be plugged into, the Plexi or the Fender amp. I need something so that when I'm playing, it's not just like I'm a gear snob. It's that, I want my ears, I want the best. I want to hear something that inspires me when I strum a chord and I go, yes, now one more chord. Oh, yes, that's great. So, like I said, as a utility tool, I think they're very cool. I found no use for it for me personally because I don't gig in a situation where I need variable instruments to, sound like different instruments. And I don't need multiple tunings because that's not something I do. And so then it became okay, I'll use it at home. And at home, it became the issue of simple as the baritone on the guitar doesn't sound as good as my real baritone. The acoustic on that doesn't sound as good as my real acoustic. You know what I mean? So I just use my real stuff. But like I said, as a tool, it does what it's supposed to do, and I think they do it well. Yeah, Mad Chris 2249 says good for a single gig and tastes great. Yeah, you know what? It's like I said, it's a practical tool. Like I said, I find no path in my life, whether it's this Gear Channel gig or playing music, where I find and I go, I can't stand this, I like this. It's really like I have a use for this, I don't have a use for this. You know what I mean? My YouTube world life, in other words, making this content for viewers, I use all kinds of products that I would never own in a million years. I have no need for them. And so when somebody says, oh, do you like it? And I'm like, well, it's not that I like it. It's just, it helps me make content in an efficient way. It's, what's the term? Workflow. I'm trying to create the fastest workflow. You know what I mean? To me, just like anyone who has a job, getting a video done in 6 hours versus 8 is a huge dividend for me. So I look at that variax guitars like that same way, right? If it nets you a positive result, you should use it. You know what I mean? Definitely, I can tell you what I wouldn't do. I would never, if I was in a situation like if I was in a cover band or a band and I needed multiple guitars, I wouldn't do. At this point in my life, there's no way. It doesn't even matter how much somebody pays me. It has to do with whether or not I had a roadie or not, and I'm never going to have a roadie. So if I have to haul all this stuff to a gig, I would have a variax in a second. That's why I said, see, notice how I'm selective what I say about it being a tool, because it's not about, like I said, whether I like it or not. It's about literally going, would I haul 6 guitars to a gig? Never. Absolutely never. At this point, I take that thing in a second. So there you go. Oh, LPD pedals. I have a funny story for Lawrence. So Lawrence, this is going to be funny only to me. So Lauren says, I think everyone needs to turn up loud at least once a week. Good for the soul. So last week I mentioned that my buddy Joe came over. I hadn't seen Joe since before COVID. And so he came over for the day. He had a Tuesday off. I like I said, I played hooky from work, and we sat all day just going through all my amplifiers and doing stuff. And the idea would be, you know, I have a couple amplifiers right now and a couple things, but mostly amplifiers right now that he's really thinks are cool and interesting. So, I mean, this is, you know, you could imagine if you had a friend that has not only one, but 4 or 5 of the amps you were thinking about buying in the next year or so. It's really cool to go try them out and not have to, you know, buy them to try them. And what's funny about this thing was at some point I convinced him, I don't know how, that we need to plug in the Plexi. And I plugged in the Plexi and he's playing. It wasn't even me playing. And I go, okay, keep playing. And then I just turned it up. And his face was just like, what the, right? And it's funny. And the reason I say that is because I have the 50 watt Plexi. And the 50 watt Plexi through the 412 will just kick you in the teeth like a mule. It's just got a lot of punch and power and volume to it. And then what happened was I go, yeah, it's loud. And it's not just loud. It's a different kind of loud because I have a bunch of 50 watt heads here and we went through all of them and we turned them up pretty loud. And I told I told Joe, I said, and this is for Lawrence though. I told Joe, I said, see, when's the last time you heard a real Plexi cranked? And he said, oh, it's been like 10 years. And I said, yeah, see, kind of like what Lawrence is saying. I go, I think every 10 years, everyone should be forced to listen to some kind of Plexi or Fender Twin cranked on 6, right? And just because to feel that again, like Lawrence said, not only how loud it is, but how it feels, how it sounds, and why it's so magical, because it is a magical beast. For about 5 minutes. And then after that, you're just like, you just want to not only turn it down, you just want to be out of the room. So there you go. Yeah, Lauren says, I can't breathe loud. Yeah, it does. It does. I tell everybody it kicks you in the teeth. Like literally feel your teeth move. So yeah, Niall says 50 valve watts is proper loud at home. Well, like I said, and the Marshall, there's something about the Marshalls, you know what I mean? Because you could argue that it's the quality and stuff, but I mean, I have like Friedman's here, I have Bogner, you know, I'm looking at all these amps up here. I have all these amps that are, you know, considered really well-built, high-end boutique amps in the room that we're checking out, and no amp is that same kind of loud. It's definitely its own monster. So there you go. All right. Okay. The next question. I'm not making any progress today. It's from Litvey. He says, how thick is your gray plecked Squier Strat body? Well, Litvey, luckily for you, what I'm about to say to you won't frustrate you or frustrate you. It's 40 millimeters thick. So I think a real Strat, a Fender Mexican made Strat body is 45 millimeters thick. I'm doing the millimeters because, I think you're in Europe somewhere, right? Either way, it's 40 millimeters thick. So it's 5 millimeters thinner than a Fender Strat. For all the Americans, just Google that and it'll tell you the differences. Okay. Jay says, what does Jay says? Jay says, thanks, Phil. Just bought a Holy board from Sweetwater through your channel. Oh, so you must be like I used an affiliate link. It says, hope the affiliation worked. Do you have a use? Oh, do you, there's a line. So let me just say, do you use the Holy board gig bag? I think he's saying, do you or have you used the Holy board gig bag? I have not. The very first Holy board I ever got, I bought it without the gig bag. And then after I did that video, I think the owner, Chris, who owns Holy board, saw that video, reached out to me. This is about a year later, but he reached out to me and said, hey, I have a new Holy board. Would you like to check it out? He sent me that Holy board, but he sent it with the gig bag. And that thing was monstrously huge. Like if I ever chop up a person and put, that's kind of graphic, isn't it? But it's, if you're, I just wanted to illustrate the size. If you ever put a person in a bag, that's the size bag. It was like a body bag. And then when he came out with the third version Holy Board, again, he reached out and said, hey, can we send you a Holy Board third version so you can check out and talk about it on the channel? And then at that time, I think I specifically said yes, but don't send the bag because I don't take pedal boards anywhere. That's my issue. Some of you guys build pedal boards and take them to gigs and stuff. I'm the opposite. Pedal boards are for the home for me. Gigs are like 1 amp. I'm trying. I literally focus. Like I said, I don't play in a band. I don't have a band where we meet every week and practice and we play songs. I'm always third or fifth wheel on a band somewhere, doing something, filling in for a person, jumping on a stage with somebody, doing something like that. So again, my rig is always very streamlined. Again, tools, focused, what I mean? Everything is about how literally can I do a thing and get out of there. So there you go. When I did, and this ties into a question, it's funny, I got a question and it will tie into this, so I can tie in these two questions, which will be great. And I really want to answer this question because I saw this question pop up last week. When I index the show, I get to see some of the questions I missed, which are most of them. And this question came from Scott. I saw Scott, you'd asked this question last week, and I think the week before too, so I definitely wanted to hit it. It was, Phil, after reviewing the Engl amps, the two Engls, so he's talking about the Ironball SE and the Fireball, do you think they are better than the Grandmeister 40? So he's talking about the Hughes and Kettner Grandmeister 40. The interesting thing about that, which ties into the live gigs and what I'm about to say, the Grandmeister 40 is a very cool amp. It's got a ton of features. And like a lot of amps like that, it has so many features that at some point I only use 2 or 3 of them. You know what I mean? I'm just not using a lot of the product. But somewhere after the Grandmeister 40, they sent the, what's the other one called? The Spirit, right? The Spirit head. And to me, I don't know why, even though the Spirit is solid state, it's not tube, it's not the exciting, expensive one. It's not cheap, but it's not as expensive as Grandmeister. I like the Spirit more. I've said this before. I used the Spirit many times when gigging. And even when we did this event not for Hughes and Kettner, with Hughes and Kettner in Germany, where we played in front of like 26,000 people. They sponsored the event, Hughes and Kettner did, and they set up all these patches. So we played 18 songs. And I don't know how many patches were in the amp for the songs because I didn't use any of the patches. I don't know if I was the only one to do this, but I definitely did it where I used only the first channel. Like I picked a channel and I created a fake plexi kind of sound that rocks out, and then used my volume knob on my guitar. And so you could hear it in the video, my tone. I was just because again, it's just the way I'm conditioned. I want to keep this as simple as possible. I don't want to worry about what patch I'm on, what I'm doing. I just want to keep it simple. So I actually preferred that amp over the Grandmeister 40. And for the functionality, sound-wise, I think the Grandmeister 40 sounded a little better, but functionality being a little lighter, a little bit more durable, just seemed like a better product for me to take around and abuse. So that being said, that's why I picked it over the Grandmeister 40. On the Grandmeister 40, would I pick the Engl stuff? Yes. Because Engl does something that I wish Hughes and Kettner did, okay, or would do. The Engl guys, and I'm friends with both Hughes and Kettner and Engl, so you can always hear that I'm trying to be fair and honest with you guys, but also, like I said, they're both my friends, so I think about their feelings. But aside from the feelings, the truth is I like Engl stuff way more than the Hughes and Kettner stuff. And the reason is because it's the mission statements that both those companies have. I'm more in tune with the Engl mission statement than I am with the Hughes and Kettner. And what I mean by that is the Fireball and the Ironball SE are made in Germany. They are made very well, okay? And if they have shortcomings, it was because they were at the limits of what they could engineer out of that stuff. Hughes and Kettner, they, for some reason, for a lot of reasons, I'm sure, have decided to go and have that stuff made over in China. And as you guys know, I don't have a personal problem with that. We talk about all gear here, but it's also priced the same price. So think about this. I'm very aware, just like the zither stand right here. You know what I mean? You can buy stands. You can buy stands for a nickel, on Alibaba Express. I'm very aware of all this stuff. And again, it's everybody has to make the financial decision that's right for you and your family, okay? I'm not here to tell you that. I'm just telling you where I align myself as much as I can. If I can buy a product made in the USA, made in Mexico, made in Germany, made in UK for the same price as made in China, I will take that avenue every time I can. Okay. Some of you guys have hard lines on this. You don't like, the import Chinese stuff. Some of you guys only like the China stuff. Again, I'm not here to argue that. And if you want to talk about this stuff, it's the wrong channel. It's just a gear channel. But if I can buy, to me, a product for the same price, the Iron Ball SE and the Grandmeister about the same pricing. And I think construction-wise, it's very easy to see. Iron Ball, like if you put those amps side by side, it's not about, both sound good. So it's not a question of how they sound. Both sound good and do the job. And if I was going to give a winner to sound, I'd say it's Engl, but only by a small margin. Maybe it's a slightly better sound than the Hughes and Kettner stuff. Hughes and Kettner went with more features, even more crazy stuff. The Iron Ball had a ton, but the Hughes and Kettner has even more. But they shoved so much stuff in there to hit that price point, they had to give up their manufacturing. So what I mean by that is they have a factory in Germany and they're not making it there. They're making it over in China. And therefore they're kind of like, they have to make decisions, cost-saving decisions. So again, that's why I lean towards the Engl stuff. Like I said, I feel like it's really built really, really well. And that's why I like it. And so I pick it over that, but I like both. And if your question is, you have a Grandmeister, should you sell it and buy an Iron Ball? I don't know. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? That's the thing. But like I said, it's not specifically because one's made in China, one's made in Germany. I prefer it. It's just I'm giving you, like when I'm given all the choice, like any consumer, you give me a list of choices of quality items, price points, features, and at some point I make a decision. And the decision is I like the Engl stuff just slightly more than the Hughes and Kettner stuff, even though I consider both those companies good friends, good people, very smart, and good product. But I just wish... In fact, if I could ask for one thing in life, it would be that the Hughes and Kettner guys see me just say that right now and maybe think, yeah, maybe we should take some notice of what the Engl guys are doing and kind of grab that, back. That'd be nice. And then also it'd be nice if Hughes and Kettner will finally tell me what that orange glowy crap in the Spirit stuff is. TR says the Grandmeister has 128 presets. Sure, exactly. Like I said, it is loaded to bear, which is great. But like I said, I found I didn't use all the options. Look, my hardest thing on the video when I talked about the Fireball and the Iron Ball is the Iron Ball has a lot of great options, but even a lot of those options I don't need me personally. You know what I mean? It was like, that's why I think I said in the video, like, does it have too much stuff? It's like, it's a little bit more than what I needed, but not a lot. The Hughes and Kettner stuff has a lot of stuff. I mean, it's basically a tube version of a Axe-Fx. And then hold on, reading some comments here. Yeah, Lawrence is commenting on the subject. He's not really talking to me, but I'm going to chime in what he's saying. He's saying moving production offshore is a trap. The quality of the goods the company receives is so poor that they scrap for QC is 56%. So he's basically saying the savings you save in labor sometimes don't wash out. I agree to some extent. Like I said, I've seen it done every which way you can do things. And there's times where I see companies execute perfectly. And there's times when they see them not execute perfectly. But I've said this before, kind of like when I talked about PV and PV saying it's impossible to make stuff in the US. And then I cite a bunch of companies who make stuff still in the US. I'm not saying we should, kind of scold PV for that, but we definitely should champion the companies. And that's really what I get all this time. I don't want to scold companies for doing wrong things. I want to champion companies for doing right things. I find you're better serving yourself and the people at those companies. So that's kind of what like I said, I don't want to scold Hughes and Kettner. I want to praise Engl for that. And anytime somebody makes a decision that I think is cooler, I want to praise them for it. I'm laughing because you guys, it's so funny how it all creates a debate. Okay. Okay, let me get back on it. Let's do another subject because I'm seeing we're getting a little redundant there. Let me refresh this. And while we're refreshing, I'm just updating the other super chat so I can hit you guys, and then I'm going to do another super chat. Let's see. And again, if you're talking to me, put a question mark at the beginning so I know. I apologize if I'm saying this name wrong. Javine? I hope that's correct. There's a lot of E's in that name. It says, hey, Phil, how would you recommend starting out learning how to do maintenance and repairs? I'm assuming you mean on guitars and instruments. The way I taught my buddy Ralph, some of you guys know Ralph, I always laugh because everybody's like, where's Ralph coming back? Anyways, so you guys, Ralph. How I taught Ralph how to repair guitars, he'll tell you, if he hasn't told you in episodes, I would take rows of inexpensive guitars and just make him work on them and give him a couple tools and point and do a couple things and say a couple things and then just basically critique his work and then give him suggestions on what to adjust. I'm a real fond believer of that. There's different ways to learn. Of course, I love videos. That's why I make the videos as well. There are so many places to learn now that the beautiful part is this, and this is why I tell you this. So that's the way I think I like to teach somebody, is just give them stuff and then critique it and kind of go that route. What I would tell you is that between the fact that you could take classes from companies like Texas Toast to you can watch YouTube videos and learn stuff visually from videos, to you can buy a kit and build a kit, to you can buy an expensive guitar and work on it. There's so many ways. There's books. Dan Earlywine has a book that you can read. What I would suggest to you is just pick the way that you like to learn. How do you like to learn? And then go that route. And then ultimately, what I would tell you is, no matter which way you prefer to learn, which is up to you, I will tell you, until you do it, you really never will kind of own it, if that makes any sense. So pick a way you like to learn: books, videos, classes, you know what I mean? Whatever instruction purpose works for you, and then execute on that by doing it. And that's why I like glary guitars. I've done so many glary videos, and to this day, we make fun of the glary guitars, but if you can find, junky guitars on Craigslist and salvage them, do that. But like I said, I love the fact that you can buy a guitar now for 60, 70 bucks, 80 bucks, 90 bucks, and work on it and learn a trait and not worry. You know what I mean? Not have to go, okay, if I ruin this, now what do I do financially from it? You just keep working on it until it's right, Or at some point, like a video game, you hit the do-over button. And then Dougal Dog, I know you're not talking to me, but it's he says American-made gear is really pricey in Australia, making the choice even more difficult. Well, I say this, and I've said this before. It's just how I feel. And the things I've learned, obviously, things I learned repairing guitars, you learn one set of skills. Making content, 800 videos, another set of skills. Answering questions for 200 and something episodes, another set of skills. But working retail, like I said, 10 years running the shop, the store, working face-to-face with customers, or it's actually 12, 13 years, but you get the idea, a decade. You learn a lot about people. What I learned is people say things, but what they do matters, right? The saying is money talks and BS walks. There's a reason why that saying exists, because people like to tell you things, but until they act on it, it doesn't really mean anything. So that being said, what I always tell you guys is what I think I've learned from that. And buying American-made products, buying, and again, everybody's from different countries. Buying usually because I'm in America, I'm in the United States. So I'm in the United States, so that's why we say United States. If you're from, Germany, you're going to probably say Germany. If you're from Japan, maybe we'll say Japan. But buying products made in your country is expensive. That's why everybody goes to outsource them to Asia. And what I will always tell you guys is, and this is just what I've learned from selling it to people and interacting with them, is that buying product in your country, whatever country it is, but definitely like United States, America, and stuff like that, it's a luxury. And if you have so inclined you have a lifestyle that lets you have that luxury, like all luxuries, like luxury cars and luxury clothes and luxury watches and luxury homes, luxuries. Somebody, hopefully in your life you have some luxuries. I'm assuming if you're watching a guitar channel, I think anybody who owns a guitar, that's a luxury right there, just owning a guitar and playing a guitar. But the point is that those are luxuries. That's why I don't say, and I don't agree with the whole, don't buy cheap gear. You have to. You have to buy, you know what I mean? Everybody has to buy what they feel comfortable buying. But like I said, if you give me a choice, I'll take the choice of buying something made in the USA or something that helps my personal economy over something else, especially if it's same quality or better. Okay. That's always a fun subject. Let's find something that's just about guitars. All right, we have the next question comes from Matthew. Matthew, he's going to save us from this conversation. He says, ordered a Z Sounds American Musical Supply exclusive olive drab Gibson V. Oh, that's badass. Any bets on how long the back order will take? I have no idea, but already amazing. There was an olive drab SG used on Reverb, and I kept telling myself, I'm like, I already have a nice SG. I don't need a green one. And damn it, I didn't buy it. It's sold. I can't find one again. It was a Chicago Music Exchange exclusive. No, I'm not talking about when they were new. I already passed up on that one, but it was a used one. That's a great color for a V. It's just different. It's a cool guitar. So I will tell you this. I don't know how long your back orders will take, but it's worth it. It sounds like a cool guitar. Different and fun. Chad Jensen, what is Chad? Chad says, Phil, what are your thoughts on the high dollar cost of buying Novo custom? Novo is a company that makes guitars in Nashville, correct? And I believe RJ Ronquillo has a Novo signature like baritone that I've seen. I feel proud of myself to know that. I'm like, one thing I don't get to enjoy as much anymore is watching other people's content. And I miss that. That was one of people always ask me, what do you miss from your shop? I'm like, what do I miss from doing YouTube? I used to watch a lot more YouTube before I started making a lot of YouTube. So what are my thoughts? Look, high dollar custom guitars, that is just a thing that, if you have the money and you have the means, there's no guilt in buying something and enjoying it at any price. You should, in fact, I think people should relish and enjoy when they can make a great purchase like that and enjoy it. You know what I mean? Enjoy it. It's that simple. I find that, sometimes, like I said, we're apprehensive because the money becomes a little bit high and then you're like, okay, is it worth it? No. Is a piece of wood with some strings for whatever money worth it? I don't know anymore. Like I said, I can buy guitars all day long for $300 that kick ass. So I don't try to justify, you can't go, oh, but this one sounds so good. I mean, don't get me wrong. Certain ones just, they're inspiring. But I think one of my thoughts on it, if it's your thing and you want to do it, obviously the channel where a policy on the live show is, if you should buy gear, we should say you should do it. But Novo seems like a pretty decent brand. It seems good. I think I'm correct, right? Novo was Fano, right? Dennis Fano is Novo now. So there you go. Brett says, I've got a Phase 90 that turns on and sound plays, but the phase effect no longer works. Oh, okay. It says, I can turn the knob all day and nothing happens. What gives? I have no idea. So I don't know. I don't know why it turns on. Why you're basically saying it turns. You hit the button, the light comes on, no sound. Yeah, I don't know. You could probably have it fixed though. That's the thing sucks about pedals sometimes is you'll find that most of the pedal repair guys don't stay pedal repair guys very long because, there's just the cost in fixing them isn't. But you'll find guys. I would take it to have it serviced somewhere if you can have it done. But I don't have any information for you, unfortunately. Grumpy Mike Guitar. He said, sadly, Guitar Center is all I have near me. I really miss having the mom and pop around. Cheers. Yeah, well, like I said, the Guitar Centers did kill the mom and pops, just like the Walmarts came and killed the mom and pops. That's really what came and kind of blistered that down and beat that down. It's a strategy. Look, it's not hard to figure out Guitar Center's strategy with the stores. They always put them right next to an off ramp so that they can be easily accessible wherever you are in your town. They kind of try to use them. If there's a really successful music store in your town or your city, they'll put one right there and just pound on them. No different than, like I said, strategies of Starbucks or Walmart. It's a business strategy, and like I said, that's why I said it's going to take 30 years for them to die. Because they will eventually die. I mean, it's just what I mean, again, barring that they don't come up with some new plan, but the plan of like, this plan is horrible. And you know how I know? I've had such a horrible experience trying to go there and spend money. And that's something that should never be uttered from anybody's face. Right? I mean, to me saying it's hard to go there and spend money, not because, again, I'm not boycotting them. This isn't like, it's not like a political thing. It's none of that stuff. I just literally go in there and I go, yeah, this is not a great experience. And so I don't really want to spend money here. And to me, that's no different than, trying to go to a restaurant where the food all sucks. You can sit there and go, well, it's one of the only restaurants in town. Great. That means it stays until eventually somebody makes a good restaurant. Somebody will eventually kill off the Guitar Centers. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be the online market. The online market will just keep pounding on it like we've seen it doing. See, here's what's funny. Dougal Dog says, I'd give my right arm, which is tough because then it's going to be hard to play guitar. Says, for a Guitar Center near me, mind you, I then have a hard time playing guitar. Yes. But here's the deal. I don't understand that. I walk into Guitar Center and to me it's absent of any choices. I can find everything online. And again, I'm not saying I prefer online to walking in a store. I prefer that experience, but the Guitar Center experience is not a great experience. It's not. I have people all the time telling me, I love Guitar Center. I go in there and have a great time. And I'm happy for them. In fact, I'm like, good. I hope that is the experience that you all have. I would like it. I would rather be the one person not enjoying myself and you all just think it's great and I'm just, it's just wrong. But I really just don't enjoy the experience overall. Like I said, there's one Guitar Center where I live where the employees are pretty pleasant. And again, that's the employees. And like I always tell you, people can make the experience good or bad. And they make the experience good because the employees are good. But selection-wise, everything's either missing something. I can't buy anything. Half the stuff on the floor is missing something or it's defective or broken. So, I don't know. All right. Let's go back to Travis. Travis says, humbucker pickups with good growl. Hope that makes sense. Rock on. Sure, of course. Good growl. Kicks. It's tough. No reference of what style music do you want. To me, what a humbucker does, it's just like in a single coil. It needs to be relative to the type of guitar you're talking about, the type of music you want to play. When I think of a humbucker pickup that growls a little bit, something that punches a little bit, I actually think of like the JB. That's a good pickup. It's been used a lot, and it'll punch a little bit. It's not a metal pickup, and it's not a blues slash. Not slash the artist, but not like a blues, jazz guitar. It's a rock pickup. It was used by metal rock guys, and that's usually what I think of with growling. You want the amp to growl a little bit. I think it's a pretty safe pickup. With the information you gave me, that's the only information I can give you. David Brown says, hey, Phil, thanks for the chats. My Friday PM routine. Okay. Your video saved me tons of money. Sometimes I get both those, by the way. I get, hey, you saved me a lot of money, or you cost me a lot of money. Depends if you're fixing the gear or you're buying it from the videos. It says, fixing my Epiphone cornet that I had terrible fret sprout. Doing the fix myself makes me love my guitar even more. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I find the edge of the fretboard is really important. And again, I kind of focus on it a lot in my videos. I even had a couple of people make comments like, hey, why do you talk about fret sprout so much? And I'm like, well, it's because I talk about what I end up having to repair a lot, but also what I see players not only complain about, but also give up guitars about. And I see, over the years, you just saw a lot of players just fall out of love with the guitar because of either the frets were sticking out, the frets didn't feel right, or the edge wasn't rolled enough, and it just was a harsh kind of feeling instrument. And let's be honest, when it comes to your hand, it's a very sensitive thing. It sounds silly, but it is. When you're playing the guitar, those things become very, very little things can become very huge because of the fact that it's a sensitive kind of intimate, sensitive experience playing the guitar. Mad Chris. Okay, Mad Chris 2249. I'm trying to see if I read this one already. I didn't. Okay. Said best way to figure out a model of guitar that isn't made anymore and the company doesn't exist. Brand name is on the headstock. Well, Google. Come on, you knew I was going to say that. No, obviously forums, that works really good. I'm not a big forum fan, but there's sometimes, you find the diehards to get information. Obviously Reverb and eBay are great pieces of information as well. But whether the company's not made anymore, even if it's really, really small, you can usually find something on the headstock. On the brand, you know what I mean? So, but I would say, usually in my experiences, even if the company's not made anymore, even if the model was very, very limited run, very unique, there is usually, that's the thing about the world now, there's usually a small group of people that love that thing and talk about that thing. So you just find that group, Facebook group, a Reddit group, some kind of gear page forum, just you can find that stuff there. I've had that great success with that over the years. Look, I've said this before, I'm a general guitar nerd. In other words, I talk about guitars, all kinds of brands, but there are nerds just for like Gibson. There are nerds just for Seymour Duncan pickups. There are nerds for just for one thing, right? They're into one thing, one brand of guitar. My favorite realization of that story was we have a joke as we do, and I'll keep you. It's called Moon Pie, and what happened was this guy came in my first shop. So I had two stores. So I had the first one, then we moved to a larger location later. But the first shop, we just been in business a very short time. This guy came in. This is why we call him the Moon Pie guy. To this day, Moon Pie. And here's why. And then later, guys, when you're bored, Google what I'm about to tell you. So he came into the store, and I think he was eating ice cream, which was if he wasn't for the story, I just want to make him more pretentious than he was. Picture this guy coming in with like a little spoon, eating his ice cream, because there was an ice cream yogurt shop in the store, or in the shopping center. So he's eating yogurt, walking the store, and he's like looking at our guitars, being pretentious. Notice I'm hammering that on. And he's like, what's the best guitar in your store? And I'm like, I don't know. I go, probably, I think I picked a Schecter, because it was, again, store just opened. We had like two brands. And he goes, interesting. He's like, what's the best guitar ever made? And I'm like, so I go, Gibson? I don't know. Gibson? I didn't know what to say. And he goes, no, it's Moonstone. I own every Moonstone he pretty much ever made. And so here's what's funny about this. And this is why it ties in this. So, I'm not just going on a tirade right now. This actually is to help. What's the name? I'm sorry. I'm going to find it. Mad Chris, this is to help your story. To prove that you can find anything. So he comes in and he's like, yes, it's the greatest guitars ever made, Moonstone. And he's telling, and I'm like, and he's like, and I would never own any other guitar besides it. Which, of course, that's what you love to hear when you make a living selling somebody a guitar, that they're not going to buy anything in your freaking store, and now you're just going to sit there and listen to them for the next 10 minutes talk about whatever the hell they're excited about. But you do it with a smile, because that's your job's there. So he's like, so he goes on, he goes, I'll bring one in one day. And I'm like, and he did, by the way, he did bring a Moonstone in for repair because it was really had issues. Now, here's what's funny about the story. he leaves the store, and we're all like stunned. We're all like, we just listened to this guy basically berate us about our crappy store and our crappy gear, and his Moonstone is the greatest instrument ever. But here's what's really funny. We couldn't remember what the hell he said. We're like, yeah. So somebody came in later and like some guy came in and told us like all our guitars were crap and the best guitar ever was a Moon Pie. And we couldn't remember. We just remember Moon. So we're like Moon Pie guitars. Well, then over time, we're like, we tell the story so many times that we're like, man, we should figure out what that guitar really was. So what happened was we kept Googling it, Moon Pie guitars. Right. And he's like, each one uses special, because I guess the Moonstones use like really exotic woods. And so Moonstone guitars. So finally, through searching, so this is why I'm telling Chris this, through searching Moon Pie guitars, believe it or not, we found a Moonstone guitar. We just found it. We found a forum where a bunch of dudes who all sounded like that dude, like somebody replicated that dude. There was like, I don't know, 10 of them. I don't know. And they all had a little forum and they talked about. So we, got to learn about Moonstone guitars. So that's my point. There's somebody like you guys have never heard of a Moonstone guitar until today. There's somebody out there and they're like really into Moonstone, which we call Moon Pie guitars. Yeah, see, Texas Toast guitars in the house. See, I knew. That's awesome that you know this. So he says, so Texas Toast says, wasn't Moonstone guitars' claim to fame that they were all burl wood, hippie wood? Yes, it was all this exotic, and it was like a limited amount of wood. Oh, and I'm sure they're good guitars. The one that he brought in, believe it or not, it was years later. He came in and brought me one, and it needed wiring work or something. And I remember I did the electronics on it, and I just remember the guitar being like. It's not that it wasn't a great guitar. It was probably fantastic. It was just, at that point, you know what I mean? You're like, every guitar sucks, but this guitar, and you're like, all right, I'm sure it's how, you know what? I'll tell you exactly how I felt about that guitar. I felt the same way about that guitar as I did. Like I told you, I've played now 3 59 Les Pauls from 3 different vintage guitar dealers that walked in and they were like, a YouTuber. No, they didn't say that, but that's basically what happens. If you have a YouTube channel and you go to a vintage high-end stores, I think I've told you guys before, they just like to hand you high-end guitars. I love that they're super kind to you. I mean, it's really cool that they acknowledge you. Right? You walk in, they're like, hey, we know you. You're the guy on the YouTube. And you're like, yeah, and you talk to them. But they always want to show you their most expensive guitar. And so now I've played 3 59 Les Pauls. And every time my experience is like that Moonstone guitar, I go, it's not that it's not great. I'm sure it's fantastic. It's amazing. But I don't know. You know what I mean? That's just too much hype, right? It's that friend that's been hyping the movie to you for 6 months and won't stop. And then literally you go to watch the movie and you're like, was it good? I don't know, because it can't live up to that. So that's how the Moonstone was. Oh, so yeah. Texas Toast Moonstone it was burl maple, all really exotic tops, different guitars. But the Moonstone guy Moon Pie will never die. We still call him Moon Pie guy. I mean, it's funny. We still talk about this. So, to give you a reference, this is 2006. Easy, maybe 2005, but probably 2006. So that's when so he's kept in my head that long. Since Texas Toast made a comment, I should point out, if you guys didn't see, Texas Toast did a video 2 days ago. I saw it this morning. It's funny. I timed it just perfect. I was like, hey, it's been a while. Like I said, I don't get to watch a lot of YouTube. I go, I should check out what Texas Toast was up to. And this is crazy, honest to God truth. I go, well, let's see what they're up to. So I clicked the video and then I'm like watching it and I'm like watching them do this cool paint job stain to this guitar. And it was my guitar. So I didn't know that. So if you want to check out my guitar, and for those of you who it's a subtle, it's subtle, but at some point you'll figure out why it's my guitar. I'm super excited. Although I really think I need to drive up to Colorado and go and pick it up in person and then do some videos with those guys. So if they're up for that, I'm up for that. And then maybe, do some other stuff that you guys would be interested in. Yeah, Kevin Smith says Moonstone is like a Jerry Garcia guitar. Yeah, they vibed very much like that to me, the ones I saw. I remember the guy, the Moon Pie guy, I think he said he owned 10 or 11 of them. And But I mean, because it was funny. I also forgot out of the story. I should point out. I forgot this. Now that I said it, now that I remember, he had like 10 of them. I forgot to also mention. Not only did he tell us how it was the greatest guitar ever, and all our guitars were not great, he told us that we would never be able to get one. So not only was he telling us that this guitar was great, our guitars are crap, but then he was telling us like we can't get the guitar that is great because he owns all of them and there's only a couple left. So Moon Pie Guy, you were fun. All right, David. What does David say? David says, we already did David. We got to get to Fret Level Midnight. Fret Level Midnight won a guitar this week. So how did that go? I want to know. He says, thanks for the advice on removing permanent marker. See, this show's for me today. This is all for me. He says, with Dane and Glary comes tomorrow, dry erase markers ready. So if you guys don't know, Music Therapy Laz, who, if you guys seen, he's been on the channel many times in the comments and stuff. He has a channel. If you guys want to check it out, Music Therapy Laz. He mentioned that he made me this wall hanger, which I'm going to show you guys, just not today, because I didn't have time to bring it upstairs and stuff. And so anyways, if you saw a couple weeks ago, he mentioned he was going to be in town. And he said, could he drop off, or he's going to leave the stand with Zim's guitars at Zim's Guitars for me, because he knows I know Dane and that store. And I said, well, if you come to town, let me know, and I'll come hang out with you. So literally, I have no idea what day it was this week. I apologize. Probably Wednesday. I hope it was Wednesday. If not, it was Tuesday or Wednesday. I got a message because I gave him my number, and he texted me and said, hey, I'm going to be at Zim's like in an hour. And so I had dinner with the kids and the family, and then I went over and met him. And when I got there, Dane was on Johnny Bean show with John and Neanderthal. And they were doing a thing, and I didn't want to interrupt that. It's a weird feeling, so you guys know, when you have some kind of YouTube notoriety, you want to be involved with other channels. It's like a thing you want to do. So I always explain this, and that's why I interact as much as I can. But also, I don't want to take away from them. Does that make sense? I know that sounds silly. That's what happens. Sometimes it becomes like the Phil took over our show. You don't want that either. You want to be part of the show, not take over the show. So I was, when I walked in, I saw it, and I thought I'd play a little bit with everybody. So I was playing a little with everybody, trying to be part of the show, but not, like make it the Phil McKnight Friday QA just on Johnny Bean show. And anyways, long story short, Fret Level Midnight won a Glary guitar that they gave away, and then they had everybody sign it, and I made the comment too. So I'm cueing you guys all in the story. I told Fret Level Midnight that you can remove Sharpie by tracing it with dry erase markers and then wiping it off. So he's ready, is what he's saying. It's a good man. All right. TMZ Buns Schwab. What the? Mick Buns Schwab says, will a different amp make a big difference with a Pod Go? Yes, because essentially, whether you use a pedal or a effects unit, what you plug the amp into is going to change the way the thing sounds. It'll make it darker, it'll make it brighter. Sure, can you compensate through EQ and effects? Of course, you can do all that stuff. But yeah, it does make a difference. You said big difference. It can make a big difference depending on how extreme those two amps are. You take a solid state crate amplifier and a Fender tube amplifier, you're going to get two types of different kind of overall tonalities. So yeah, it makes a difference. Look, all this stuff makes a difference. But is it, crap versus good? No, I wouldn't say that. It's just like I said, one's going to be brighter, one's going to be warmer, so it does make a difference. And even if you EQ and do stuff, there's just a little bit of that out. All this stuff matters to some degree. You know what I mean? So, and then on a side note, Robot Master Switch said people love seeing you, Phil. He's talking about on that show. I love being on there. Like I said, I thought we were having a good time. They were cracking me up. It was a good time if you watch that episode. It's crazy. They're a crazier channel than me, which was fun. That I enjoy, so you guys know, I enjoy being in formats and environments that are different than mine, because this format is the one I created and I enjoy having this format. But sometimes if it's a crazier show or if it's a more serious show, sometimes that's nice too. Kendall from Binsonite Products says, howdy Phil, do you prefer the DiMarzio Chopper T or the Seymour Duncan Little 59? Too late, I already bought the DiMarzio, but I'd like your opinion regardless. They're different animals, so let me tell you what I like about both. And so the Chopper, to me, like I said, is kind of like a P90. It's got that big P90 punch, man. It just punches, and but it doesn't make any noise. So like if I want a P90 style tone coming out of a guitar and I have a single coil spot, I will do something like the Chopper T. Now, so Seymour Duncan makes a pickup called the Quarter Pounder, and that's also like a P90, and I think that pickup sounds more familiar to the Chopper style pickup. The Little 59 to me doesn't sound like a 59, but it sounds like the sweetest fat single coil tone I've ever heard. You know what I mean? And I like that as well too. Think about that. That's what I like about them differently. It's how I want the note to attack when I hit the pick on the string, how I want that note to kind of come out. The Chopper is definitely going to kind of be like, it's there. I'm here. I've arrived. It's the loud guy that shows up at the party. You're already yelling. The Little 59's the calmer, smoother tone. So Paul Richards says, hey, Phil, by the way, the other thing too is, even though, so you don't get scared, the Chopper T does have that kind of punch, but when you roll it back, the volume, man, it sweetens up really nice. Paul says, hey, Phil, are 70s Telecasters likely to see an increase in value over the next few years? Many things from the UK. I believe everything that, and I've said this over and over again, and I said it last year too, and I'll keep saying it, regardless of what comes in the next decades or two with the market, I think what we're going to see is not only what we're seeing now, but a continuation of American-made type products, and I mean any products, because even if they're PV or if they're an off-brand company, you're going to see them increase in value. You're going to see Fenders and Gibsons continue to increase in value. I do not subscribe to the theory that has been put out a lot of times. And again, I could be just as wrong as they can, but I'm still going to give you my opinion and why, the reasoning for it. I believe Gibson and Fender will continue to go up in value because the theory behind that, why it won't, is that essentially the boomers die, right? I'm being very frank because it's just a very frank conversation. I hear it all the time. The boomers will die and the new generation won't care about this stuff. And there are arguments to that. I've read articles where people don't really collect Model T Fords anymore, right? Like, stuff like that happens. However, there is a massive difference, and let me give you the massive difference. That gear is not associated to just people being an age. You know what I mean? That gear is different than even the car industry, which, by the way, the car industry seems like it's just going up too. The vintage cars still keeping it going up too. But it's attached to music. And as long as that music is relevant, the product that made the music is relevant. It's just going to be that way. It's why people couldn't predict a record. What did Fender put out, like a $3,000 record player this week? I saw people making fun of it. I'm like, again, if somebody wants a $3,000 record player that's got a sunburst thing on it, and they got the money to do it, and they've worked hard, and they didn't, steal it or kill somebody for it or whatever, then God bless them. Good for them. Good for them. Work hard. Enjoy yourself. I don't know. But my point is that there's this thing that will always be, as long as the music is good. Why people buy records? People don't buy records because, well, some people buy records because they remember going in record stores and buying a record. But kids aren't buying records because they remember that. And kids are buying records. Kids are buying records because good music's on records. And some bad music too, but mostly good music. As long as there's good music, things that make that music will be sustainable. It will so that music has to die. And here's what's crazy. It's not dying. It's like it's sticking around even harder. It's like as they make more disposable type music now, which I still listen to. I listen to everything at some point. But it's disposable. It doesn't have the iconic value that some of the older music does. And so the older music will continue to make that stuff worth value. And we know what the agenda by the companies are. The company's agenda is they're going to keep making better and better guitars for cheaper price. And that's the other argument. Why would somebody pay for, like in your question, why would somebody pay for a vintage 70s Telecaster when you can buy a Squier Telecaster that kicks ass? And the reality is because somebody's going to buy that vintage guitar, not because the other guitar doesn't play great. It's because that other guitar is a piece of history. At some point, you have to acknowledge, and I've said this many times, and I always use artists as a perfect example for this. We look at ourselves like, I collect gear, and artists use gear. And the reality is it's not true. Some artists use gear and collect gear. Some collectors collect gear and use gear. You know what I mean? I've made the argument, what if I, and I don't know if I even did this with you guys, maybe it's just an argument I just started with my friends. I said, what if I like to play one Strat, and all I own is this one Strat, but I own 50 Les Pauls on the wall because I just love looking at all the Les Pauls, right? Is that really a horrible thing? I don't think it is, right? It's one is I like to play guitar, and this is a guitar I like to play, and one is I like to collect guitars, and those are guitars I like to collect. So again, I think that's the same logic here, is that people will want exciting things. And I use this great analogy, and it's not an analogy, a story. I know I like to tell us a lot of stories on the podcast, but this one was on Shark Tank, and I absolutely love this story. I've said it 1,000 times, I'll say it 1,000 more. There was an episode a few years back where a husband was a firefighter. She was chopping up the old firefighter. I guess they use these, the ones with the reflector tape and stuff, real firefighter uniforms, the ones they actually have to go into the fires with. And so after so many years or so much time, they have to, kind of toss those and get new ones. And what she was doing was cutting up her husband's old firefighter uniform and making backpacks and purses out of it. And then that did so well, she got other firemen to give her their outfits, and then she got other fire stations to it, and then she had people across the country, fire stations sending her stuff, and then she had other moms across the country sewing up these outfits, and they were selling these backpacks, and their backpacks were like $300, $400 for a backpack made of an old firefighter's uniform. And she wanted money, I think she wanted $200,000. Again, I'm doing this off memory, so if you watch the episode, you'll see the exact numbers and the exact story. She's wants the money from the Shark Tank, and what she wants to do with the money is she wants to go to basically Asia and have them make a mass-produced version of this and, get it out in the market because she has people knocking her off. And I believe what happened in that episode, which is what was powerful to me, was Damon Johns bought her company for $1 million under the agreement that she had to sell in the entire company and get away from the company. And he said, because I got to save this company from you, because he goes, you have something magical here. And he holds up the backpack and he says, this backpack fought fires. And he goes, in a world where you can have anything for any price, this is unique. And I believe that story to be exactly what I've been saying for years. A Squier Telly is amazing. I could own one and be happy forever. I could play gigs forever. Rock stars could play it. But I hate to say it, something that can't be replicated is a 1970 blah, blah, blah Telecaster that was once played by so-and-so, or, you know what I mean? It has a story, a life. It becomes a history. So it becomes more than that. So that stuff will continue to go up in value even after the boomers die. And the only thing that we don't know is, will it hold the same high-end value? Well, it doesn't even hold the same value in the last 20 years. The vintage guitar industry has had, if you look at it in the last, say, where are we at? 20 years? Yeah, 2000 to now. Okay, so in the last 20 years, if you look at the vintage guitar industry on a sales graph, it looks like the McDonald's logo. It looks like the Golden Arches, right? It had a super high, and then it crashed, and then it took off again. And then it's slowly, so I mean, it's going to be like that. So it's not about whether or not will it be at the all-time high it will ever be. So you guys are saying boomers will never die. Okay, but we're, like I said, it will have its ups and downs, but I don't think it'll ever go, because like I said, it's ingrained in a part of history, and that history doesn't seem to die. Maybe when nobody cares about all that music, which, which people say now, like I said, people say no one cares about it now, yet, I love it when people use the argument that the reason why they know kids don't like old music is because they don't buy it. I'm like, that's because they steal it. And you don't steal things that don't have value. So stealing it. That's my joke back. Okay. So Aaron, short music, he's pedal board shopping. Really? Usually uses a pedal train, but looking at Temple board for the modules. Any suggestions? So many options. I use Temple boards and I use Holy boards. I like both of those. I will tell you my tempo board broke, and I want to say this very clearly. I was shocked. It cracked. It just like fell apart, the side piece. I wasn't doing anything but changing out a component on it. But I will tell you, I took a picture of it, sent it to Tempo Board. It did not tell him who I am. I have an alias, so you guys know. I've told you this before. I have an alias. You'll never know what it is. It's you guys did that to me. You guys, I got sick of hearing so many times, but you're Phil McKnight, whatever the hell that means. Anyways, but I understand what you guys mean, because there's always a kind of like tampering the issue, which is, what happens if somebody Googles me and goes, oh, this guy has a couple 100,000 subs, we better take care of him. So I actually messaged them as my alias, and alias name, alias email, and they sent me a new one, and it was very, very to the point. It was like, okay, we'll send you a new one. And they sent me a new part. So I want to say they took care of me. The reason I tell you that is that that's one thing. What I would tell you from also, again, messing with the tempo boards, those little plate things that go on the pedals suck. Here's why they suck. You stick them on a pedal, it's really tough, because then when you don't want that pedal anymore, you got to like take that thing off, and then you scrub all the goo off and then try to redo it. So it's a little bit of a process. So I'm not a huge fan of the tempo boards for that reason. So I use tempo boards, and I use zip ties, and I use Holy boards, and I use zip ties, and I really like both. Aaron, what I would suggest to you is, since if you guys don't know Aaron Short Music, Aaron Short from his YouTube channel, Aaron, I would reach out to Chris. The owner's name's Chris at Holy Board, and just talk to him. If I knew somebody at Temple, I would tell you. I don't know anything about Temple boards. The reality is, when Sweetwater did the Rob Scallon, I'm trying to say it right. Rob Scallon and Sweetwater did the biggest pedal board in history, world record. They sent me a piece of that, a pedal board, and it was on a Temple board, and I enjoyed it, so I bought another Temple board. So I have two, because the one they sent me was huge, so I wanted a smaller one, and so that's why I have that. And then I bought a Holy board, and then, like I said, Holy board sent one out. But I don't know anybody from Temple board, but I would suggest reaching out to Holy board and seeing if he'll take care of you. You got a YouTube channel. Yeah, it's if you got a substantial channel anyway, you should always reach out. Maybe he'll want to work with you. I don't know. He's super, super nice dude, and he makes good stuff. I mean, it's built like a tank. Clan of House Cats says, but stand up. Just sorry, before I go on to the next question, just picture in my head Aaron going, Phil McKnight said, just do it. Just say, Phil McKnight, I have a channel, and show him your cool Phil McKnight shirt that my wife made you. And then he'll be like, you're in the know, man. So let's see if he'll hook you up. It says, Clan of House Cats says, I bought a stand from the link. Oh, you did? Excited to try it one. Awesome. Thank you so much. That's so funny. I love it when you guys do that. It's not only because obviously it supports the channel, but it's funny that you just super chatted me and tell me you just bought a stand. That's very kind of you. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited about the stands. I'm glad you guys are digging them too. I wasn't sure about this one. This was the first product that I wasn't sure about, because this is really kind of attached to the channel. A lot of the other products, like you said, are like I said earlier, have nothing to do with Know Your Gear, KYG, no marking. So I think those things will be interesting because they're unique and interesting, and like I said, they're priced right. This one is more like, it's supporting the channel stuff. But thank you so much for that. Sometimes the names Maluda Ufai. You know what? Maluda Ufai. I don't even know where the L would go in this. Madufai. It says, I'm sorry I butcher you guys' names, but sometimes they're tough. It says, what are your favorite EQ pedals, graphic and parametric? I am not a parametric EQ pedal fan. I had the PEQ4 from Boss, and it's okay. I'm just not a big parametric EQ fan. I don't use it. It's not something I use a lot. I've tried it on bass and guitar, and I think parametric EQ is a product, and I say product instead of pedal because they have rack mount used to it. It's for someone who has a really good attention span. If you're someone like me that wants to turn a dial and then get a result, like, okay, and where are we? Okay, that's this. Okay, adjust, and we're there. That's not, parametric EQ is not your friend. Parametric EQ is for someone who's like, a little bit more. A little bit more. Oh, too far. You have to really cut. Like if I ever, like maybe I've been telling my wife, maybe I need to smoke a joint. If I ever smoke a joint, maybe I will smoke a joint and try to mess with the parametric EQ unit. Maybe that's the experience. Just chill, dial in a sound. So that's my thoughts on parametric EQ. But graphic EQ, I use the Boss one, the G7. It's what I like. It's not fancy. The MXR one works great too. There's a ton of other ones by Joyo and all this. I haven't tried them. I don't know. I just, like I said, I have a Boss EQ7 and it works. And I have two actually. So, and I think I paid 70 for one and 50 for the other. So for that kind of money, I can have two EQs wherever I want. So not the best advice. Like I said, I'm sure somebody's going to mention some really nice ones, but that's the ones I like and I use. And no complaints from me. Brian says, have you tried the Blue Ridge BTR series acoustic guitars? I swore I've played a Blue Ridge guitar before. I just don't remember when or how long it's been. It's been years. I mean, at least 5 to 7, at least. It says, have one of their BTR 140 historic dreadnoughts, and I'm loving it. I got it for half price at Guitar Center in their used section. Well, like I said, as much as I like to dog the used, the Guitar Center guys, and always remember, when I pound on somebody or when I say something on the show, it's always because I'm hoping it's going to get better. I won't talk about things I truly dislike. So I like to point out, whenever we talk about the Guitar Center and I think their faults and stuff, it's not that I think they should listen to the channel or anything. It's in hopes that maybe I'm echoing a voice out there that they can hear. You know what I mean? And maybe learn something from it. And be better, because I think, hey, if Guitar Center was to improve, it'd be really beneficial to all of us. But that being said, their used section is pretty badass. I hate their pictures like everybody. They're pretty generic, but used things, I think what keeps Guitar Center interesting to me is the used section. Pixie from Boston. Oh man, he'll get mad at me for saying that. But anyways, Steve from Boston, Pixie. I always call him Pixie. Steve from Boston loves the Guitar Center used section, and he swears by it. What I will tell you is, man, you can find some stupid good deals. I even have to double check. Pedals especially. I would highly recommend the Guitar Center used section for pedals. Sometimes I'm on Reverb and I'm looking at a pedal and I find one for $50 and I find one for $60 and then I go, wait, let me check. And I go to Guitar Center, $34. I'm like, yep, do that. So Ian Nunes says, I miss the old Guitar Center. That's kind of my problem too, is I kind of miss the old Guitar Center. But yeah, the used section is definitely where the Guitar Center still kicks butt. Which is why they haven't been that exciting for the last year, because their used section is pretty depleted, although it's fattening up as the market's been slowing. The high demand has definitely tapered off. There's still good demand. The industry still seems like they're selling a lot of guitars, amps, pedals, all that stuff seems to be kicking butt, but it definitely has slowed. Slowed. It's slown. Anyways, Chris Goodwin says, new KYG shirts arrived. Okay. Beer in hand, ribs on the smoker, and Phil on YouTube, life is good. That sounds actually awesome. Beer and ribs. Maybe we need beer and ribs tomorrow for Saturday lunch. So you got the new KYG shirt. Awesome. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, man. That's always very appreciative of that. Like I said, it's awesome. That's a cool story. And I feel bad if I don't tell it right now because I missed it earlier. When I was mentioning that I met up with Music Therapy Laz this week, there was a great story that happened. When I met him, he was wearing a Know Your Gear shirt, but it was the tone knob that said, live it, love it, learn it, live it, love it. And I told, it's the tone, the Know Your Tone shirt. A lot of you guys have no idea what I'm talking about. So let me tell you, because he didn't know the story. No one knew the story. I never told anybody because it never had came up. That shirt, there's got to be maybe 10 shirts in existence. And what happened was, when the channel hit 100,000 subs, of course, I retired the original Know Your Gear logo. And what happened was, Ralph at that time was doing the logos. Well, Ralph was doing that for free as a friend of mine. And so I go, okay, I need a new logo. Well, he's busy. He's got a real job. And I said, I'll pay you. And he's like, I won't take the money. He doesn't want to take my money. But if you ever had an experience like this, it's like he's your friend. He won't take your money, but he also won't work at the speed you need him to work at. So like, I need you to take my money so you can work faster. I need this done because all these weeks are going by, no one's buying any shirts. So what happened was I told my wife, which is why my wife now does all the stuff that you guys know. I said, do you learn to do this? So she got, what did she get? What software did she get? I feel horrible now. I don't know. She got the software to do that. I don't know what it's called. I'm thinking in my world, Final Cut Pro is what I use. She uses something else. Adobe Illustrator. So that's what my wife uses. So my wife got Adobe Illustrator and she took a class or whatever she did. She learned to do Adobe Illustrator. And that's why when you guys interact with her and she does custom shirts and stuff, that's how she taught herself to do it. So she taught herself to make the shirts. So while she was teaching herself to do shirts and Ralph was not making the new logo, I didn't want to lose out on, obviously the revenue of the channel, which is selling some merch. I made that shirt. It's the only shirt I ever designed. I did some copy paste crap and put it up and made the shirt. And so he has that. So anyways, if any of you guys have that tone shirt that I'm talking about, definitely send me a picture of it. I would love to see it because like I said, it's really unique because not only did we only sell a few of them, it's the only shirt I ever made. And here's the other problem. When my wife took over, that's what I was telling in the last part of the story, which I'll tell you. When my wife took over doing the Adobe Illustrator shirts, she also, because she wanted to make this not suck for everybody, she also changed our vendors. And when she changed everything, the old logo, the one I did, it's lost. So there's no way for me to recreate that logo except for my wife to recreate it now from whatever. But I don't even have a picture of it anymore. So I just know it when I saw it. So when I saw Music Therapy Loud, I was like, oh my God, you have that shirt. And then I told him the story. So that was for me, self-indulgent, but I appreciate you guys listening. So we have... And then Bradley Thompson said, hey, buy a beer on me and keep rocking, everyone. And I will. I'm not going to have a beer tonight, unfortunately. But I will have a beer tomorrow for sure. Okay. Last question for the Super Chats is going to be Steve 41811. So let me get to that one. We have... James's question, which is, Phil, why do you think Fender stopped making the Super Sonic 100? I love mine. That was a fantastic amp. And it had a unique technology. That biasing technology in the back of that amp was fantastic. If I recall, the idea when that amp came out, so if you guys don't know, there was a Super Sonic 60 amp, and then they made the Super Sonic 22. And so, and then they made the Super Sonic 100 to make like a complete series of amplifiers. And I want to say that was like 2007, maybe in 2008. James, you have it, so you maybe know exactly. But either way, it was like a perfect storm of mess. You had recession pounding the market, and so of course high-end equipment was not selling because that was tougher. You had the fact that no one was really buying high-end, not expensive. I'm sorry. No one was buying 100-watt amplifiers. So, I mean, Fender's not even known for that market. And of course, the guys who were known for that market were having trouble selling amplifiers. So it wasn't the amp. It was just the timing of that release. That's just what killed it. But it had that amazing technology on the back of it. So you guys don't know, on the back of only the Supersonic 100 amps, you had this button and it had like LED like light or something. Anyways, you could tap it and you could bias the amp hot or cool in real time. Which if you run the bias a little cool, you get this kind of spongier, softer sound. If you run hot, you got a little bit more kick and punch. And it was very subtle. And that's what was really interesting about it, because you realize it wasn't like a dramatic thing, not anything the audience would notice. Nobody listening to the amp would notice this, but you would notice it when you're playing the amp. And it got quiet, so you could do everything you could do with the 22 and the 60, but it was just that perfect storm of that mess. But yeah, it was a great amp. Michael Rogers, thank you for the super chat. Don Erickson said, hey Phil, I want a Gibson Les Paul. What is your opinion of the Gibson Les Paul Tribute? Do you think that that would be better off buying an Epiphone? So this is a simple question, believe it or not, and it comes up a lot, the tributes. The tribute to me is really a really core question of this. Given the choice to me to buy a Les Paul Tribute or an Epiphone, I would pick the Tribute, but I like bare bones. You know what I mean? I'm not, look at the, as I have a nice Les Paul behind me, but if you look at the guitars behind me, look at like the just basic paint job, you know what I mean? A lot of basic paint job guitars. Obviously Nathan made this amazing, gorgeous PRS for me. That's awesome. And of course I went a little flamboyant on the Kiesel with the exotic look, but for the most part, I like the PRS. In the PRS world, I like the S2 guitars. I like the Mira. In the Gibson guitars, like I said, I like the Studio. I like the classic light. I have a classic light behind me. Oh, there's my mirror too. So there's a mirror. Very basic guitars. So I like a guitar. Just doesn't have to have a fancy wood top on it. In fact, look behind me. There's only 2 guitars behind me with fancy exotic wood tops, and one was Nathan just trying to blow my doors off and show me how amazing he could do work. And then the R9, which is just like I said, it's very exclusive in the collection of guitars. It's just something different than I normally would play or own. And so that being said, I'm not really drawn to the fact that Epiphone for the same price or a little less money can give you a lot of options. And that's cool, but that's not what I'm looking for. So I would pick the Tribute. However, if you're the type of personality that would really like to have, a nice gloss finish, maybe a nicer top, upgraded tuning keys, because most likely if you're looking at the same price points, you're going to be getting a lot better equipment added. The one thing I love about Epiphone is I love their hardtail bridge. I think it's built. I think it's superior to what Gibson puts out. I don't know why they don't just put it on the Gibsons, but yeah, that would be my suggestion to you. And I will tell you this: in the long term, the Tribute will hold more value, if that matters to you. Again, these things have to matter to you. I'm just giving you information. You have to make your decision for yourself, but those are the suggestions I would give. Steve 410811. That's a lot of numbers, man. So he's. By the way, if you want anyone to know what Steve's PIN number to his credit card is, I just read it. I have a 57 Les Paul custom shop. The pickups are not potted. Yep, so they squeal a bit. Yep, because it's before they were potting them. Is there something I can do without replacing them with potter ones? Yeah, you can pot them. If you want to do that, you can absolutely do that. If you want to take it to somebody you think is, reasonable, you can pot them as well. I have potted pickups many times for customers. It is not something unique or hard. Basically it entails, I would remove your 2, so let me tell you the process. Basically you take the strings off the guitar, you remove the 2 pickups out of, your 57 reissue is going to have 2 wires, hot and ground, soldering gun. I pull those right out. I'm going to desolder the caps off, pull the caps off that, because they're not potted. That's pretty damn easy. The only thing that's hard about that process, I don't want to say you don't have to remove the caps, but you should. I'm sure you could get away with a little half-assery, but if you have the 57 Les Paul, custom shop, you don't want to half-ass this. So the only thing that's tricky about this entire process, believe it or not, is the solder to just solder the covers off the pickups. It's the solder. You have to get the gun hot. You have to have a really nice soldering gun, iron, whatever the hell you want to call it. I think I got somebody's like, why do you call it a soldering gun? I don't know. Soldering iron. It has to be hot, and so you have to know what you're doing with it, because you're gonna, not burn yourself. You're just gonna burn. You got to melt that solder down. So anyways, desolder the two. There'll be 2 solder points on the bottom. You pull the cap off. Once you pull the cap off, you take a wax pot. I like a beeswax with paraffin wax mix. That's real standard stuff. Not very exciting, and just a wax pot thing. It's just called a wax pot. Dip them, hang them. Sometimes you dip them again, depending on your situation, and then put the covers back on. And again, like I said, you can wax pot them with the covers on as well. Sometimes that's easier. And then, and that's, like I said, that might be even faster. And this is wax pot them. That's it. If I was going to leave the covers on and wax pot them, I would probably use a straight paraffin wax mix, because it will help get in there. The beeswax thickens. It's like a thickening thing. It thickens up the wax, which is nice. But I really want to soak it in there. Yeah. But that's how I would do it. And then put them back in. Super easy. And if you don't, and there's options. I'm sure to tell you the options. you know, so if you were to say that to me, like, oh yeah, do that, or if you go, but would that change the resale value of my guitar, and then all the hemming hawing stuff, what I would then say is, okay, well then let's go option 2. Option 2 is pull the pickups out, desolder the cap, pull the cap off, and I put a piece of foam tape. I use double stick foam tape, but you could probably use I forget what it's called. It's like a not nylon tape. I have that too, but I mean it's like this pickup tape. I don't know. It's black. I get it from Stu Mac. It's not very exciting. You can use Scotch tape. So Scotch tape, painter's tape, but I use a foam tape. Don't ask why. But any tape, you tape it over the slugs of the magnet, the 6 slugs. Put a piece of tape over those slugs. Put the cap back on. That's going to solve like 60, 70% of the problem right there. And then if you ever sell a guitar, desolder it off the cap and pull the tape off. Solder back on. It's pretty straightforward. That's what I would suggest you do. But I can't imagine a custom shop Les Paul being worth less because you had the pots or the pickups potted. But who knows? Right. All right. On that note, I think we covered it. As in tradition, we try to do one last question where we do 3, but this time we're going to actually do 1. Let's do. Hold on a second. Oh man, the awkward quietness as I look for, oh wait, I want to do that one because now I have you all in suspense. Okay, Mike from Oregon, I want to answer this question because he put 716 question marks before the question. Good man. That's a great way to get somebody's attention. It says, Phil, I assume he did. He said, did what you said and asked for a deal, got 18% off just for asking. New American Humbucker Strat, single Strat, HSS Strat, Pro 2 coming next week, Olympic White and Rosewood fretboard. 2 things you know now. 1, Olympic White's probably the number 1 selling Strat. And 2, you got the discount. And I love reading those over and over again to you guys, over and over again. Again, always ask for some kind of deal. It's not, there's nothing wrong with it. Like I said, I told you guys many times, I'll tell you guys many times more. I've been on both sides of the counter, the person who had to make a living talking to the customer, and of course the customer. And I will tell you this, as long as money's changing hands, there's no real reason anyone should say no. And if they say no, you should never be offended. Just go find the next deal or pay the right price. But either way, as long as everybody's being cordial and exchanging business, like I told you guys, I've never been upset for giving anyone a deal. Because it fed my kids and paid my bills. The worst times in my life when I owning a business was when no one was handing me money. That was pretty bad. Even in this market, which is tough because right now everything's kicking butt, so it's hard for people to want to give you a deal, but they're still out there. And then on that note, I'm going to let you guys go. I want to thank everybody this week. Music Therapy Lads, thank you for the hangout this week. And Dane and Johnny Bean, John. Neanderthal wasn't there, but I know Neanderthal and he's amazing as always. Everybody who asked a question today, I want to thank you guys for that. Everybody who bought a stand and supports the channel with all the merch and all that stuff, thank you guys so much for that. The rest of you guys and everybody else, please have fun this weekend and play some guitar because... you know, at the end of it, that's all we're supposed to be. It's a guitar channel, but we're supposed to be playing guitar. And on that note, I will see you guys next Friday at 3. As always, thank you guys so much for your time. Till the next time, know your gear.